The Turks said they got everything they wanted.
Yeah, I was there.
That's Mike Pompeo. He had a very difficult interview on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and for good reason. The Trump administration has made all sorts of terrible decisions. You have Mick Mulvaney confessing to quid pro quo. You have Donald Trump abruptly pulling out of Syria. And the Syria story continues to develop. We continue to learn more about what's going on and where the US troops are being sent. But before we get to that, I do want to talk a little bit about how the Kurds have responded to this. Now, as you know, we had Kurdish allies in northern Syria. Donald Trump, after a phone conversation with the president of Turkey, decided to abruptly pull US troops out of that area. And he claimed that he was doing so because he just wanted to end these forever wars. He wanted to bring the troops home. Now it's clear that those troops are actually not going to go home. They're going to be directed to Iraq. But before we get to that, let's take a look at this video showing how Kurdish residents in the area have reacted to Donald Trump's decision. Now keep in mind that the US troops who were there were essentially serving as a buffer between the Turks and the Kurds. And there was some concern that if you pull the troops out, then Turkey is actually gonna move in with a military operation. And that is exactly what they've done. So let's go to this video. It's B-roll, so I wanna keep our mics up. It shows how some of these residents in the area, Kurdish residents, have reacted. They're throwing rotten tomatoes at US troops as they're driving by, as you can see. There were also protests where they had signs criticizing how Trump has decided to abandon them, and they're fearful for their lives.
Yeah, Trump said it's working out perfectly.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sure that what the Kurds there are former allies, as in like a week ago, that lost 11,000 people fighting ISIS, both for themselves but also on our behalf. I'm sure they were trying to give fruit and vegetables to our troops on their way out to make sure they weren't hungry. I'm sure that's how Trump would state it, and Mulvaney would say, yeah, they hate us. I'm sorry, I have a retraction of that statement. They love us, and they were throwing the rocks and the tomatoes as presents.
Well, let's go to Donald Trump's crazy and unhinged press conference from today. He was asked about his decision in Syria, and here is how he is illustrating what's going on in northern Syria right now.
We had 28 troops as it turned out. People said 50, it was 28. And you had an army on both sides of those troops. Those troops would have been wiped out. I don't think it's necessary, other than that we secured the oil. It's in a little different section, but we just secured the oil. And the other region where we've been asked by Israel and Jordan to leave a small number of troops is a totally different section of Syria near Jordan and close to Israel. And that's a totally different section. That's a totally different mindset. So we have a small group there, and we've secured the oil. Other than that, there's no reason for it, in our opinion. And again, the Kurds are going to be watching. We're working with the Kurds. We have a good relationship with the Kurds. But we never agreed to, protect the Kurds. We fought with them for 3.5 to 4 years.
So he thinks that the Kurds are not upset. You saw from that video, they clearly are upset because they've been abandoned. But more importantly, when he's referring to the oil, he's specifically talking about what Defense Secretary Mark Esper shared with the public today. So there will be a so-called residual force, American force, in Syria to protect the oil fields. And the reasoning that they're giving is, well, we don't want the escaped ISIS fighters to get a hold of that oil because that's one of the ways that they finance their terrorist activities. They're also concerned about the leader of that country having access to those oil fields because of the fact that Bashar al-Assad is aligned with Iran. So the Trump administration is concerned about that as well.
Okay, so I want to thank the Trump administration for making our priorities super clear. So a lot of politicians do what Trump does, but they do it in a more subtle way, and they have systemic corruption, and Trump takes it over top with personal corruption most of the time. But Trump just says it. He's like, oh, we're there for the oil. So he's like, everything's great. We're not protecting the oil fields and not any of the humans, right? So normally politicians do political speak. Oh, we're so concerned about the Kurds and the minorities in Syria, blah, 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 blah. Oh, the Christian minorities, our hearts go out to them. Evangelicals give me more votes, but we've only secured the oil fields. And so Trump, since he doesn't know any better, just says it, like, I want the oil. So I put men around the oil, and then the rest I don't really care about. I mean, do we really have a relationship with the Kurds? So they fought for us for 3.5, 4 years, and 11,000 of them died on our behalf. Who cares? The oil though, the oil. We secure the oil. And it's not just about ISIS. The chance of a couple hundred ISIS guys recapturing all those oil fields is, for the moment, being remote. But Lindsey Graham also just flat out said it. He said it is that we're keeping the soldiers there, quote, to modernize the oil fields and make sure they get the revenue, not the Iranians, not Assad. So this is all about, I don't want Iran getting money. I want the money. I don't want Iran getting it. And now, let me say something that I've seen nowhere else that is super important. When we put these, well, first let me actually tell you the stuff that you are hearing in other places, but that is really important. And then I'll get to the thing that no one else is talking about. So we're not leaving Syria. So that was clear from what Trump said. He said, it's just a small number of people and we're moving to a different part of Syria. A different part of Syria is still Syria. So those 1,000 guys didn't leave Syria. We didn't end the endless wars. Anytime you hear a Republican or Trump supporter or any other person saying that Trump is ending these wars, that's just not true.
In fact, he just recently deployed 1,800 US troops to Saudi Arabia.
So I was gonna get to that next. So where did he put the 1,800 soldiers in Saudi Arabia? By the oil fields. Now wait, now this is really strange. Now, protecting the oil is not strange, we all get it. Every administration was doing that anyway. They were all obsessed with oil, right? Dick Cheney couldn't get oil out of his mind. Trump does the same thing, but more brazen and is more straightforward about why he's doing it. Now, in Saudi Arabia, they're like, it is to protect against the Iranian strikes of the Saudi oil fields. So now let me tell you what no one else is saying. We're using our soldiers as human shields. Because Iran could not possibly invade Saudi Arabia on the ground, get to where our troops are and engage in a battle. No, we're telling Iran, don't bomb the oil fields because you'll kill the human shields that are called American troops. So if you do, then I will bomb you back and we'll start a war, which is what, of course, in reality, the neocons and the Pentagon want, okay, that Trump doesn't necessarily, like, I don't give a damn what Trump wants or is in his silly little head. But the bottom line is, both in guarding the oil fields in Syria and guarding the oil fields in Saudi Arabia, we're using our troops as human shields. That's a fact. There's no question about it. Iran could not possibly get to those oil fields unless they bomb from the air. So the point is, the only reason for our soldiers to be there is to die. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.